Hi everyone, it's Angela. How are you today? I hope all is well. I am just out taking my walk. It is a gorgeous evening here, and what a day to just breathe in some freshness, get some good endorphins going. Um, and also, I wanted to get on and just share something with you that touched me. Um, so, a couple of days ago, I had an interesting situation with Evan. As a matter of fact, I had to use some of the parenting things that I had been talking about, specifically the art of an apology, which we had talked about during the chat in color. Well, what I had done a couple of days ago, which I didn't think was a big deal, but Evan did. So I had bought these socks, right? 2 packs of socks for the boys. And so Jalen says, "Hey, Mom, the socks that you bought me were too small." So I just changed the socks, changed the packs of socks. Not thinking it was a big deal. It was Evan had only worn 1 pack of the socks. So I went in his drawer and just exchanged the socks, right? So here it is a few days later. And when we were walking through Target, they were kind of bantering about it, but I had other things on my mind, so I didn't, really pay any attention to it and just kept moving, which I could have said something, but I was just focusing on what I was focusing on. So anyway, so this is, I want to say Friday or so. So he says, "Mom, did you give Jalen my socks?" And I said, "Yes, son. I gave Jalen your socks." And he says, "Well, you didn't even consider how I felt about it. You just went in the drawer and gave him my socks." So I was like, "You know what? You're right. I apologize, son, for giving him the socks. Do you accept my apology?" And so he was like, "But you didn't even consider my feelings about it." And I said, "Well, son, I apologize for not considering your feelings, you know." And so I'll just, when I go back to the store, I'll get you some more socks. Again, not thinking it was a big deal, right? And so he, so at this point, I'm downstairs, and he says, he comes back like 5 minutes later, and he is in tears. And he said, "Mom, you just went in my drawer, took my socks, didn't consider my feelings, and it makes me feel like I can't even trust you. We were talking about it. You didn't even say anything, you know." And so I let him get it all out. And I said, "You know what, son, you're right." And so the issue for him wasn't so much of the socks. Yes, the socks was an issue. He had a respect issue. He didn't feel that I had respected him or respected his things. And I let him get it out. And I was just listening to him, and I was so impressed by the fact that, you know what, he stated he did just what I told him to do. When you have a disagreement with someone, or someone does something that you don't like, that you state the facts. This is what you did, and this is how it made me feel. Don't add any other stuff to it. Don't say, what they thought and all this kind of stuff. What he did, grown-ups can't even do. I've met a number of grown-ups that don't know how to express their feelings. They don't know how to state the fact. This is what the facts are. This is what you did. This is how it made me feel, right? And I'm just looking at him, and I let him get it all out, because at that particular point, it wasn't my place to defend myself. This was his place. He was offended. And so, okay, and I did it. I had offended him. Not only had I offended him, but I made him feel disrespected, and I made him feel that not only did I disrespect him as a person, but also his things that belong to him, right? And I know a lot of us, grew up where parents were like, "Lord, boy, you better wear them socks and just be quiet and get out my face," and all of this kind of stuff. But what I was thinking about also is that if I did not give him room to express himself, that he would have had that stuff pent up in him. He would have had anger pent up in him because he felt disrespected. Who doesn't have anger in them when they feel disrespected? You know what I mean? Someone takes your things and don't ask you, you're going to feel disrespected, right? So I used it as a teachable moment. I did not interject my feelings or my motive or anything like that on that day. But the following day, Kenny and I were taking the boys to their friend's house, and I leaned into it. So I said to them, both the boys, so I use this as a teachable moment, right? That, not only is it a teachable moment for them, that they have the right to be able to express respectfully, to express if something is bothering them or if they feel disrespected in any kind of way, that they had the freedom and the openness to be able to do that, right? But also, how you doing? That I was wrong, right? And so what I said was that, hey, when I did that the other day, I was wrong in how I handled that. I did end up, getting him some more socks and got some other things for him. But I said, I'm human. Your father and I are human. And we're not always going to get it right? But one thing that you can count on is that my heart towards you is always going to be toward love. And also that I don't have, malicious intent or to be someone that they can't trust, right? Because my son asked me, are we, he kind of felt like he was going to have a trust issue with me, right? So I don't want my son feeling like that, but I'm glad that he had the opportunity to express himself, because if he didn't, that would have been something in him pushed down in him. And then the next time I did something that would have bothered him or offended him, he would go back to that. And before you know it, you have a kid who's angry and a kid who's enraged because they haven't been heard. Their feelings have not been validated. And then you have not done anything to offer restitution and haven't done anything to reaffirm love, which is what he needed at that point. And that's what I did. The humility to say I was wrong goes a long way. It really does go a long way. And a number of us have probably never heard anybody in our life, especially authority figures or adult figures, say, hey, I was wrong in how I handled that. I understand how you felt. I understand. I understand goes a long way. I understand how you felt. And, even if I mess up again, my heart towards you is not to hurt you, right? People need to hear that. That goes a long way. And it doesn't just mean it with your children, but even in our adult relationships, sometimes you need to learn how to shut your mouth for a minute, let somebody get their words out, and then sit with it for a minute. Sit with it. You don't know how they feel. Like, you get upset with somebody and you go, and you meant this, and this is what you said to me, and this is what you meant. You don't know what they meant or how they felt. That's your mind telling you that. You don't know that. But what you can say is, this is what happened and this is how it made me feel. Because the moment you start putting those digs in there and that negative energy in there, all of a sudden your point that you were trying to make is lost. It gets lost in translation because you're putting too much, you're putting your spin on it. It's just something to think about. And, it is so important for our children to know, especially our boys, to know how to express themselves. I've heard some people say that, they have to talk to their kids tough sounding, so that they know how to act in real life, and nobody gonna talk to you like that in real life. But I'm like, where do you work, or what kind of job do you have in real life that people are yelling at you, talking down to you, barking orders at you, smacking you, telling you aren't anything? What kind of job is that? And if that's what kind of job you have in real life, you need to get a different job. Even a drug dealer got to know how to negotiate. I was thinking about that thing today. I said, a drug dealer, if you really going to be the one calling the shots, you got to know how to negotiate. You got to know how to talk to the person from the White House to the poorhouse. You got to know your client. You got to know what your competition is. You got to know how to do inventory. You have to have discernment. I'm not saying I want drug dealers as my children, but I'm saying it's the difference between being the boss and being somebody who's always going to be a runner. You got to have some kind of skills, no matter what kind of job you are. So if we're going to train our kids, train them to learn how to talk. Train them to learn how to read the room when they go in a room. Train them to know how to get out of hot situations before they start. Teach them how to negotiate. Teach them about finances. Keep your hands off of them. Talk to them like they are people. Tell them that there are consequences to their actions. So when I say just talk to them, I'm just not saying be all passive and, no. No, have a conversation with your children. Get them used to hearing a healthy tone. That's training. Not all this yelling and lazy parenting. Just because it was done to you doesn't mean that it needs to be done to them. That's ice cream man. Maybe I needed that just to kind of calm myself down, because there's so many things that are going on in our world right now. We got an 11-year-old that, is being arrested for doing a crime. A 15-year-old, killed a girl and then got on a school bus and was trying to kill somebody else, and the gun cocked. The gun just would not go off. 15, 11. These are kids. They're children. I have a boy that's getting ready to be 10. I have a boy that's getting ready to be 13. And when I look at these children, I think of my own. They need to be thinking about kids' things. But I'm not saying all of this is their parents. I don't know where they're from. But man, if you are not validating your children, talking to them as if they are worth something, they're going to be looking for that validation somewhere else. And I think about these children, that's it for them. That 11-year-old, that 15-year-old, they're going to be in the system. We have got to get to the point where we get tired of hearing this. This is generational. How did it make you feel when your parents yelled at you? It doesn't feel good. Or to be belittled or spoken down to, or someone's talking to you and you just have to suck it in, because if you speak up for your own feelings, then that's a smack across the face, or that's a yelling at, or a whipping with a belt. At some point, we've got to get tired of this. And if the change doesn't start with us, who does it start with? How you doing? So, my heart is just full. If you want to share this post, please share it. If you think it could be a help to someone, and have yourself an amazing day.